Arcane Denial, Scarab God. Ooh. Opponent's gonna make themselves a Phylath. It's not ideal. Life total's gonna get lower. Opponent is down to 13. Use that Ancient Tomb again.
Today on Commander Replay, we check out this highly aggressive Rograkh Kediss list and find out if we can kill all three opponents at the same time. Next on Commander Replay. Help support me and save 15% on singles by using the promo code REPLAY at mothershipaTX.com. Commander Replay t-shirts, available in orange and colors beside orange.
Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Rograkh and Kediss today. Today's deck list comes to us from Patreon supporter Ryan, and I'm leaving it ambiguous so neither Ryan will know which one I'm talking about. Anyway, let's take a look at this opener. We've got two lands. We've got Everflowing Chalice is something. Honor-Worn Chaku. I think this hand's keepable. Let's keep. I'm not convinced about this Colossus Hammer. Equip 8 is a whole lot. A whole lot. But anyway, this is the deck list by Fish, who plays in games with us quite often. But the other Ryan didn't have a deck list for October, so he was generous enough to donate this slot to Fish. So we're taking a look at Fish's deck today. I've seen this deck once or twice. It can be pretty nasty. I told opponents to bring stuff that's like turn 6 strong. This deck does not mess around too much. There's a mountain. Lands are good. Play a mountain. Cast Rograkh. Cast Bloodforge Battleaxe. And pass like that. Just lands for our opponents. That is great news for us. That is what you want to see when you are playing this deck. There's a Cathedral of War. That one's going to be a little awkward, I think. Let's get the mountain into play, I think. Equip the Bloodforge Battleaxe. Then get down to the attacking. We'll swing into D-Manny. He generally has very strong decks. I've seen this Radha deck. It's not as consistent as some of his other ones, but it still can be very strong. Still can be turn 6 strong, win the game with an overrun or something like that. It is mana in the command zone, and mana in the command zone can get out of hand really quickly. Kaza Royal Chaser coming into play for opponent. Let's take a look at our commanders. So first up, we have Rograkh, Son of Rogakh. 0 mana for an 0/1 with First Strike, Menace, and Trample, as KO goes on the attack and hits Pauper in the air for 1. And it has Partner, and we're partnered with Kediss Emberclaw Familiar, 2 mana for a 1/1. Whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. An interesting effect. Believe it or not, I have not really tested Kediss since it's come out. Either in the 99 or in the command zone of decks. I think I played it like maybe one time, and I don't even remember if it showed up or not. So I'm actually pretty excited about getting a look at this. I've long been thinking about it for decks like Aurelia, a lot of the Boros Voltron stuff that I've done over the years. But if they printed this card like 3 years ago, it was an easy auto-include. But they've printed so much for Boros equipment in the past 2 years that your deck slots are really crowded, and there's only so many creatures you can get in your deck. And I just really haven't gotten a chance to test with Kediss because of that. And, you know, the fact that there's a new set every like 3 weeks means you're just bombarded with cards, so just never got around to testing it. But anyway, that's what we're doing today. D-Manny got himself a Rampant Growth, and it looks like just a land for Pauper. Brings it back to our turn. What are we doing right here? Getting Kediss would be cool. Getting some mana ramp is also not the worst idea. Maybe we go Everflowing Chalice on 1, get the mana ramp, and then cast Kediss. I think I like that plan. Play the mountain. Everflowing Chalice on 1. Cast Kediss. We probably really shouldn't split with this deck, but we will for this first turn here. Send this one over to Pauper. We hit 2 more commander. That's a Kediss trigger, and that's a Bloodforge Battleaxe trigger. And we'll pass like that.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell.
Yeah, this deck is highly aggressive. Valakut Awakening. KO gonna look at some different cards. Taking a look at our opponent's commanders today. First up, we have Chaotix 2075 piloting Kaza Royal Chaser. I don't know what he's up to. He said, quote, "I have some fun stuff for the camera." So we'll see what he's got. Kaza, 2 mana, 1/2, flying haste. The next instant and sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less, where X is the number of wizards. It's a deck we've played on the channel once or twice, and it's kind of a weird deck. If I'm remembering right, it's one of those decks that's prone to like drawing the wrong half of the deck. I think some of these blue-red wizard decks can be like that a little bit. They're a little awkward sometimes, but there can be some cool, powerful stuff in there, so we'll see what he's got. Next up in the middle, we've got D-Manny piloting Grand Warlord Radha, 4 mana, 3/4, haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, add that much red and green mana to your mana pool. Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. We got a Talani summoner in there, Tribelder, so he's got a few creatures out there. Probably going to be making some mana pretty soon. Brings it back to our turn. Just a land for Pauper. Probably want to get this Hearth and Home. 3, 4. Yeah, I think the Hearth and Home. More ramp is going to be good. It's about the only way we're probably going to get to that Colossus Hammer. So, oh, you know what? Maybe we put the sword on Kediss, because we don't care if Kediss gets blinked. Actually, I mean, I guess you can choose not to blink stuff. I don't know. Was that correct? Maybe it wasn't. KO can have that one. Menace First Strike, huh? Yeah, we can poke back into D-Many. The First Strike will get us there. Kediss, Bloodforged Battle Axe. That was First Strike damage. We hit again. Kediss again, and Hearth and Home. To blink Kediss or not to blink Kediss? I think I'm not going to blink Kediss. Get a mountain. And pass like that. Yeah, maybe we'll move the sword next turn. Probably should have just put it on Rograkh. Wasn't thinking. Cracks the Myriad Landscape. This legendary? Not legendary. 1-2 our way, yep. Grand Warlord Radha coming in, yep. Did not crack the Tribelder, so planning to use that for mana. Right here, probably get some sort of big play going. Hey, everything our way, yep. Expected that. Talani Summoner trigger and Warlord trigger. Gonna make some mana. Puts that mana into the Summoner, and now there are a lot of 1/1s that are attacking us. We're probably going to have to hurry up a little bit. They have City's Blessing. The tokens stick around. That's not good. That is not good. Yeah, we're going to need to drop the hammer on them pretty soon here. Gyruda. Hopefully they don't just, like, hit all clones and do that whole thing. They hit a Rexiel. Rexiel is pretty good. We milled 4 mountains. That's probably a good thing for us. It almost seems like our deck hasn't shuffled, because I think we've drawn 2 or 3 mountains. Although, I guess we did use a Hearth and Home and Shuffle at one point. Still, that's pretty weird. Brings it back to our turn. And wouldn't you have guessed it? Another mountain. I want to get the Honor-Worn Shaku this turn. Our final opponent, by the way, is Pauper R. Bust piloting Runo Stromkirk. One that I've been seeing a lot. One that I definitely need to check out. I forgot to film that this past weekend, so probably need to get to that in the next day or two here. Flying, when it ETBs, put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card if it's a creature with mana value 6 or greater. Transform Runo. And then on the backside, flying, and make a token attacking copy of a creature. If it's a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent, make 2 of those tokens instead. Really interesting commander. Been seeing that one a lot. Been one of the more popular ones from recent sets. So our Honor-Worn Shaku finally resolves. What do we do? We need to move this Hearth and Home. Step 1. D-Manny has offered us a deal that if we don't attack him this turn, he won't attack us next turn. So, yeah, I think that's probably worth taking. That being the case, let's get the Cathedral of War in. I wasn't sure when we were going to do that. Let's do it now. Then tap this, put another Bloodforged Battle Axe on the Rograkh. It's now a 6-3. Not doing too bad. Guess we're swinging into KO. Hope we don't get blasted with removal right here. Exalted. And this is where that Kediss damage is really going to start to pile up, I think. Assuming this gets through. We hit Kediss trigger. Bloodforged Battle Axe, and Sword of Hearth and Home. Get a mountain. Each opponent's going to take 7. Now those life totals are starting to look a little low. I guess since we have no plans to block with Kediss, we can tap out our creatures. I mean, we could probably... Maybe that's not a great idea. Well, we've already started it now. Put this Bloodforged Battle Axe on Rograkh. We are wide open, though. An overrun could get us. That probably wasn't the best thinking. Although, I don't know if Kediss itself does much to stop an overrun. We'll see what happens. Maybe someone will drop a board wipe, and that would kind of clean some problems up for us. Given that our commanders are so cheap, we'd be able to rebuild fairly quickly. Ludwig coming into play. Burning Prophet. Well, looks like he's getting set up. Okay, we're going to swing in the air at us for 1. Yep. Ludwig trigger. D-Manny has the ability to generate a lot of mana and a lot of creatures right here. This is actually pretty scary. I kind of wish I had left a little more up in the way of blocking, but this deck just doesn't block that much. It's not really a thing that it does. Doesn't send everything, leaves a little back. That's probably a good idea. Does send the Tribelder at us, but the rest of them to KO. Ilath, ooh, that's going to make some blockers. Please be green blockers. They are green, fantastic. Problem is he still has 2 red blockers, and I think that is like just enough to be a problem. Oh god. That's a Harvest Season, and he's going to get a lot of mana. probably all of his lands. There's one you really don't see that much. Token decks have kind of gone by the wayside. Also, it's an awkward card early, but later in the game, it's obviously very good. Yeah, that's scary. Well, he's gonna have to die now. Oh, with the Cathedral of War in play, I think we have just enough to kill him. Ludwig trigger. Ooh, opponent's got an ancient. Oh no, opponent's got Urborg with their ancient tomb, so they don't have to tap it for damage. Ew, Serpent of Yawning Depths. Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents can't be blocked except by those creature types. Yeah, it's pretty good. One our way, one to D-Manny. I think there's going to be a Rexiel trigger in here, too. Burn down the house. What's this do? 5 damage each creature and each planeswalker? Oh, that's not amazing. Well, all of our beautiful plans. Both of our commanders go down. And worst of all, opponent stuff's still alive. That's, unfortunate. Now we got a game. Nice plays out of Pauper right there. Because I was lining up to just kill D-Manny, and then with that attack, I mean, that was probably going to be 18 or 19 damage. Everyone else is going to be at single-digit life, so... Oh, you want what we could do? We could Ghost Quarter the Urborg. I might do that. Play the Ghost Quarter. Cast Rograkh. I guess we'll just get Kediss straight back in play, too, so I don't have to mess around with it. Yeah, it is kind of a big mana play. Equip the Hearth and Home. Make a mana, untap this thing... Tap it again. Put a Bloodforged Battle Axe on Rograkh. Looks like that's everything we can do. We'll pass for now. Probably going to Ghost Quarter the Urborg and force them into the Ancient Tomb. Cloudkin Seer for KO. It's going to draw a card. Sylvan Library for opponent. Recasting Grand Warlord Radha. And we're going to blast that Urborg. Opponent gets a swamp. Let's see what Pauper's got this turn. He's controlling the board with creatures currently. 2 of them our way. It's going to be a shot for 12. Cut us in half. Will actually put us lower than our opponents, but we are looking to try and kill them on our turn. Rexiel trigger. Inscription. Rexiel's going to beat us, I think. Maybe they'll leave us... both of our creatures, really? Yeah, Rexiel has been doing a number on us. We need haste really badly. Wouldn't mind a board wipe. I don't know if there's a ton in the deck. There's a Rolling Earthquake... Comet Storm, Blasphemous Act. Opponent gets himself... Scarab God? It's not great. Opponent's the threat. Come on, haste off the top. Chaos Warp is something. We can defend ourselves with that. Play a Mountain. Opponent did not use the Ancient Tomb last turn. Cast Kediss. Cast Rograkh. Put a lot of blood... just put a bunch of equipment on Rograkh. Get another one of these on there. And we've got 6 power with First Strike on the blocking, and we've got the ability to leave up Chaos Warp. Although if Kediss goes down for some reason, we may lose that. Kaza coming back to play. Taps it. Can cast an instant or sorcery. Psychic Spiral. Shuffle all the cards from your graveyard into your library. Target player mills that many cards. Fun. Cuts off some of the spells in the graveyard. Rexiel's opponents only, right? It's the player you damaged. Yep. Nice. KO's going to poke Pauper in the air for 2, and that amount of damage is very relevant to our plans. Down to 17 he goes. Sylvan Library for D-Manny. Let's see if he burns any life here. Avenger of Zendikar. Yup. D-Manny also needs to die. That's an Arcane Denial. I was wondering if they were holding the counterspell, but they do Ancient Tomb themselves down to 15. We just need our stuff to untap. And Pauper should be in easy lethal range for us. D-Manny's been sitting suspiciously on 2 green mana, which makes me really nervous. I'm really hoping it's not Constant Mists. Check the chat log, just in case. Arcane Denial, Scarab God. Ooh. Opponent's gonna make themselves a Phylath. It's not ideal. Life total's gonna get lower. Opponent is down to 13. Use that Ancient Tomb again. Just need to untap. Actually, you know what? That might be good, because now they've tapped out their mana, and I'm pretty sure we can defend against this. And they won't have tricks up their sleeve. Yeah, it gets a Phylath and an Avenger. Big attack our way. Some stuff going over to KO. Yep, I think it's Chaos Warp time. Chaos Warp this Serpent of Yawning Depths. Tap the Kediss. They get a Solemn Simulacrum. That's fine. I was worried they were going to shuffle and get it right back. That would be bad. It's highly unlikely, but every once in a long while. Phylath and Avenger trigger. Yup. Let's go to blocks. Block the Gyruda. No blocks from either opponent. Gyruda goes down. Rexiel on the Psychic Spiral. KO's down to 4. Oh, they're going to hit us with it. I missed a Comet Storm in there. Deflecting Swat I would have liked. Another mountain. Drawn almost entirely mountains. Play a mountain. I think it's time for the Colossus Hammer. Really hoping this isn't a Constant Mists. If it is, we're going to die. If it's not, we're going to win. Nature's Claim could also get us. Send Rograkh over to KO. Exalted. Pauper says the Krakens tried to save us. KO said he had a fun play next turn. D-Manny says if he doesn't cast the Harvest Season, he can hold up Heroic Intervention for the Wrath. And then he had Beastmaster Ascension. Yeah, he probably wins. There's a lesson there in when you have a protection spell like that, you need to leave that mana up. Especially, I think that play was visible on board. I think he could see Rexiel, and I think he could see what was in graveyards at that point. So, he decided on the ramp play, which, sure, it's an easy thing to do, but I probably would have waited just to make sure that you can protect yourself, because keeping your stuff alive is basically the most important thing. So keeping your stuff alive through a board wipe is like card advantage and mana ramp, because you don't need to draw more cards to have a board state, and you don't need to spend more mana to cast those cards. So literally one of the best things you can do. Whole bunch of triggers going on the stack. I should have put Kediss on the top. No thing there. D-Manny's gonna Chord of Calling X1. How much is Spore Frog? He gets a bop. No big deal. And Kediss gonna spread 17 damage to each opponent after we get this mountain. And down they go. It was close. It was close towards the end. Drawing that Chaos Warp was a big help. We probably die without it. As far as this deck is concerned, so yeah, this deck played exactly how I thought it was going to play. Super low curve, very aggressive. A little soft to removal. Actually, probably a lot soft to removal. I noticed the lack of haste being a real big issue, so I'd probably add some of that in. Swiftfoot Boots would be the most obvious choice. What else? Let's see what we got for extra combats. I feel like that was something we were missing. There is a World at War. And a Seize today. Okay, so we had 2, just couldn't find them. I don't know about Anax. Anax is fine. It doesn't exactly blow you away. That's a card you can cut. Also, Squee. It doesn't seem necessary. What I would do is probably get an extra combat. I'd probably go for 3 in this deck. We've got Seize today. We've got World at War. We have Feast and Famine? No Feast and Famine. Yeah, things you can think about with this deck. So I used to play decks like this that are just all-in aggro, and there's a couple things that happen. One, if you just blast someone out of the game on turn 5, a lot of times that doesn't feel great for them. And if they weren't playing a turn 5 deck, then they probably didn't have a real good time. But also, when opponents start presenting you with problems, you do want to have ways to answer those. And it's kind of a bad time for you if you're not able to answer your opponent's stuff at all. So even though I do play hard aggro decks, I still like to have some resilience and some removal to be able to solve problems that come up and kind of adjust to board states throughout the game. That's the personal philosophy that I've taken. So I've gotten away from decks that are this aggressive, because the problem is you'll always fold the cheap removal, and cheap removal really bad against Bloodforged Battle Axe and that sort of stuff. And another thing I would do too, there's this Chandra Awakened Inferno. This is probably a backup plan, is what I'm assuming this is. I would probably go with a Mob Rule instead. Because Mob Rule does a couple things. So, one, it gives you the ability to win the game from not having a board state as long as your opponents have creatures. And with a deck like this, it's very possible to get into that board state. So it gives you an alternate win con, but 2, it also can remove blockers. You can just be okay, I need you guys to not have blockers this turn, and fire out this Mob Rule. So I'd probably add that. We do need an extra combat. So anyway, the point I was trying to get to with the extra combats is, personally, I would go Feast and Famine the Heb, Aggravated Assault. I love that combo. It's a nice thing to go to, right? You're not going to get it every game, but both halves of the combo are really good, and when you do get it, you're probably just going to win. So that's something that I would do personally. You may actually want, depending on how many equipment are in here exactly, you may actually want either Kazul's Toll Collector or Fervent Champion. The only issue with either of these two is that it's damage that's not coming from your commander, so Kediss isn't going to be as effective, so maybe that's a reason not to run them. I mean, maybe you want a Brass Squire in this deck. I don't know. It's worth checking out. It's a little slow, I get it, but you are running a Colossus Hammer. If you get that Colossus Hammer down early, you're probably going to win the game. So yeah, I would get a third extra combat spell into this deck. You can choose the one that you like. I'm just putting a Relentless Assault in here since I'm not adding the full combo. But there's a lot of different things that it could be. It could even be a Morog. Morog is very solid. So I would go for 3 extra combats. Another thing I would do is I would probably try to get a Bolt Bend into this deck. You've already got Deflecting Swap, but having more of these protection type things is a really big deal. If we could have Bolt Bended to protect our stuff at one point in there, we win the game very easily and it's not close. So that's one that I would look to add in. I don't think you really want Dragon Mage for this deck. What I would do, I'd probably go Ignite the Future instead. I did notice card advantage was a little light this game. Put that in the add pile. Is there no Toma Legends in this deck? Wow, there's no Toma Legends. That one's got to go in. So Toma Legends will get you card advantage. And because we're running Toma Legends, I would also add Manifold Key. It allows you to untap it so you can get all the counters off of it, but it also allows you to make your creatures unblockable. Really good for a deck like this. And then, of course, there's any number of equipment that you could try adding in and or out of the deck. Feast of Famine's good if you have it. A really insane card. One that could be very interesting, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. It's not one that I've played with a lot, but it's one that I want to play with. Spectre Shroud. It puts 1 power on Rograkh, which is a thing. But also, it makes them discard a card, and that's kind of a big deal. So you can put a little bit of resource denial in there. It's a lot better with Double Strike, so it's probably like not worth it for this deck, but something to think about. I'd probably put a Skull Clamp in, honestly. Although, 01, maybe, Skull Clamp might be a little tough. So there's a million equipment that you can add to the deck that will do a lot of good things. I was thinking about Death Touch because of the First Strike and Trample. So like maybe a Basilisk Collar, because I think a little life gain might go a long ways too. So I think a Basilisk Collar would be really nice. A Luxon on Warhammer I think would also be very solid, especially once Kediss starts triggering for a lot. That'll gain you a lot of life, so it'll keep you alive, which is a really good place to be. So those are ones that I would think about. Throwing a Basilisk Collar right there. But also, the other thing you can do, Fish has gone pretty all in on this deck. If that's what you're doing, I would probably add some Ritual Mana to the deck. And there are many choices here. Mana Geyser is the big one. I don't actually know if you need Mana Geyser for this deck. I think the curve's so low that it's probably not really worth it. But like, this might be a deck for Ironcrag Feat. Add 7 red mana, but you can only cast 1 more spell this turn. So basically, it's the like get your commanders back in and re-equip a bunch of stuff and that kind of thing. I think that could be very interesting. Seething Song is totally legit. Rite of Flame is good early. It loses value as the game kind of goes along and as you have mana. But Jessica's Wail's already in here. Also a really good one. Geosurge is a card, but the casting cost is a little rough. I believe that's 7 red mana that it makes. I always have to count all the little things. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But the quadruple red is that's a thing. There are a number of colorless lands in this deck, as I would expect there to be. And yeah, that one could be a little rough, but certainly one you can think about. But I'd probably add an Ironcrag Feat. That's the type of thing that if you're just trying to be as fast as possible, that's going to allow you to get to the big stuff and really get to your finishing plays that much quicker. We are a number of cards over at this point. I'm not going to be able to get it back down to 100, but a couple things that I would remove. I'd probably cut the Wayfarer's Bauble. It's just not a card that I love. I would rather run any Signet over a Wayfarer's Bauble. Just, it's too much mana. It's too slow. In my opinion, Wayfarer's Bauble's only good on turn 1. Like, at any point after that, it's just not amazing. Now, I get it. It gives you a little bit of flexibility in that, like, you can cast it one turn and then crack it the next turn, but I'd really rather just run a Mind Stone or something like that. Mind Stone, Felwar Stone, any of those. You know, Hazardous Monument may not actually be the best for this deck. I do love Hazardous Monument, but there's only 12 creatures in the deck, and most of the time I think you're going to cast your commanders, and if they're already in, you're probably just casting a lot of equipment, so you may not actually get that much value from Hazardous Monument. We have cut 2 ramp cards, though, so do note that you'll want to be adding some ramp back in as that happens. Ooh, Silent Arbiter in here, nice. Flametongue Kavu is really good with Sword of Hearth and Home. Basically just annihilate everyone's commanders. Cleansing Wildfire is an interesting choice. It does draw you a card, but it does give them a land back. It's not the worst thing, but you could also just run a Pillage and not give them anything back at all, but you don't draw a card off of it, so depends on what you want. So anyway, there's a bunch of suggestions, couple things I noticed. A little more haste, a little more protection's always good, another extra combat. I like mob rule as the big alternate win condition, or I need to get rid of all the blockers right now. Ignite the Future, Tome of Legends, Manifold Key, all really good. Basilisk Collar, maybe. The Death Touch and Lifelink are nice. Ironcrag Feet, get that mana going quicker, or also Seething Song and Rite of Flame for the same idea. So anyway, that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.
I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. We have one new Patreon supporter in Renaud Guillard. Renaud, you are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, or if you're looking for a group to get a webcam game of Commander going, be sure to check out my Patreon at the link below.